Welcome to Creation in the 21st Century. I'm your host, Carl Ball, founder and director of the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose, Texas. I want to start by thanking TBN for making this program possible and making our generation available to us and us available with our special guest to give the truth to this generation, the truth of scientific creation, scientific and biblical creation. Now, the title to today's program is A String of Pearls. A String of Pearls. How does that apply? You are an incredible individual. Our Creator has gone to great lengths, incredible lengths, and hopefully on the program today, with the expertise of our special guest, you will be able to understand and we'll be able to appreciate the marvelous design and intricate structure and benefit the Creator has placed in you, my friend. Not only your physical body, but the makeup that you have in your brain, the makeup that you are, the entire being that you are. It is all intricately aligned. You see, each of us has approximately 100 trillion cells in our bodies. In every one of those cells, there's an average of 60,000 proteins, 60,000 specific functioning enzymatic proteins in about 100 different specific configurations. Not only are those 100 specific configurations in each single cell, but the 60,000 proteins themselves are specific to that cell, to the function of that cell. And in every single cell is the DNA, the deoxyribonucleic acid, that programs the information not only for that cell, but for all other 100 trillion cells in your body. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. And our Creator manages all of that, has designed that for you to function, and originally you were designed to function forever. In fact, you will function forever when God restores everything to its original condition. And I trust that you will trust the Creator. Maybe this program can make a difference in your life so you can have fellowship with Him forever. I brought a little article with me to the platform today because it illustrates in a specific way how the Creator is concerned in making everything independently function, even bringing outside entities to play to make this function together. This is a literal story. Brianna was almost halfway to the top of the tremendous granite cliff. She was standing on a ledge where she was taking a breather during this, her first rock climb. I admire this young lady. As she rested there, the safety rope snapped against her eye and knocked out her contact lens. Great, she thought. Here I am on a rock ledge, hundreds of feet from the bottom and hundreds of feet to the top of the cliff, and now my sight is blurry, and this is my first climb. My sight is blurry. She looked and looked, and hoping that somehow it would have landed on the ledge next to her, but it just wasn't there. She felt the panic rising in her. So she began praying. She prayed for calm, and she prayed that she might find her contact lens. It's a good thing to pray at that specific time. When she got to the top, a friend exclaimed, examined her eye and her clothing for the lens, but it was not to be found. Although she was calm now that she was at the top, she was saddened because she could not clearly see across the range of mountains. She thought of the Bible verse, "The eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth." She thought, "Lord, you can see all these mountains. You know every stone and leaf. And you know exactly where my contact lens is. Please help me." Later, when they had hiked down the trail to the bottom of the cliff, they met another party of climbers just starting up the face of the cliff. One of them shouted out, "Hey, you guys, Anybody lose a contact lens? Well, that would be startling enough. But you know why the climbers saw it? An ant was moving slowly across a twig on the face of the rock, carrying Brianna's contact lens. The story doesn't end there. Brianna's father's a cartoonist. He illustrated this, and the whole point is that is but a mundane illustration of how intricately God has worked for our benefit in this marvelous creation. Today, we're going to learn from our special guest ways in which our Creator has worked for our benefit far beyond our ability to see, to comprehend, and normally to appreciate. I hope this program makes a difference. I'm delighted to welcome back to the broadcast today my friend now of long-standing, Bruce Malone. Professor Malone,
so much, Dr. Bob.
You've been such a blessing to these programs. You bring something to the table.
Well, we are in a battle for our culture, a very fierce battle where our entire education system is trying to steal our children and teach them what isn't true. You are a secret weapon in this battle, and it's my privilege to be a part of this program.
Well, you're so very kind, and you're part of the thrust of that weapon. In fact, you've produced a number of books, but a wonderful book that we've featured on this program. You feature a page on that program today. Now, what's the title of that book?
Well, the book's called Censored Science.
Censored Science.
I worked for 28 years at Dow Chemical as a research leader. I know science very, very well, what it can and what it cannot accomplish. I left several years ago to teach churches, schools, students, universities on your program the types of things that are left out of the textbooks on purpose.
Censored, literally censored.
It's the information that's censored from our children, so they will be led to only one conclusion: you can explain everything without God. But the trouble is they're not getting all the information, and that's the kind of thing we're going to talk about.
Good, and you cannot explain it without God.
We can try, but it's...
they've ruled him out.
Yeah, you come to the wrong answer.
You come to the wrong, and you're going to bring that to light. So Censored Science is a marvelous book. We have a page or two from that book today, and then we have a string of pearls. I am really looking forward to that. Now, you're a chemical engineer and research leader. How many patents did you help develop for Dow Chemical?
To the glory of God. Great ideas come from the Lord, always. But 18 patents while I was at the company.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So many, many new product lines. But as I said, I give the glory to the Lord for that.
Yes.
You know, when He told Adam, take dominion over the earth, part of the understanding of that Hebrew word is to understand and control. We're stewards of creation.
Yes, we are.
In essence, God was telling us to go be scientists. Go understand what I've made, use it, control it to His glory. And that's all I was able to do while at Dow.
And known and sought out are all the works of God by His individual creatures. Now, as a chemical engineer, you know something about the chemical functioning and the microengineering going on. Would you take it from there? And you came to make a statement today.
Well, let me back up. We'll get to the string of pearls, okay?
Yes.
We're going to build the suspense. The whole story of evolution has to start somewhere. And Charles Darwin, when he came up with this idea that one sort of creature turns into another, that turns into another, that turns into another, he could never explain where life came from to begin with. He kind of just ignored that whole process. Well, there were many others that jumped on board. One of them was a man named Ernst Haeckel. Now, this was a master showman from Germany. He would fill entire stages with pictures and fossils, and he'd line them up, and he convinced an entire culture that Darwin's story was true. And that's all evolution is. It's a story.
It's a story. It cannot be demonstrated.
He proposed at that time that we would find a simple cell without a nucleus in the process of turning into a living organism. Well, a few years later, they found in the ocean, when they preserved different things in the ocean, they would add alcohol, they found a small little gelatinous thing without a nucleus that looked like a cell. Remember, they didn't have high-powered microscopes.
Correct.
They actually named it after them, the Babulus Heculus, it was called. Okay, the first thing in the process of turning into a cell, because they thought cells were very simple, just blobs of jelly. Well, within a few years, they proved that was nothing but a reaction of the alcohol with the seawater to form gypsum that would have been surrounded by...
All right, so it wasn't...
So it was a mistake.
An
Total
embryonic
mistake.
developing cell at all.
It remained in his book for 50 years.
You're kidding.
No, but see, we're doing even more ridiculous things today. That's the background of this search for what could have formed a living cell. We thought it was very simple, just a little blob of matter. In 1952, a man named Stanley Miller did an experiment. Now, it's in all of the textbooks. The children are being taught this to this day. 50 years later, we're still teaching about this. It's called Miller's experiment, where he put ammonia, methane, nitrogen in a flask and added a spark of lightning, as is illustrated here.
Yes.
And what was created were amino acids.
Yes.
Now, as we have come to understand life, we find out the most common molecule in life are proteins.
Right.
Now, we think of protein as a good steak, right? But it's far more than that.
That's right.
Our eyelashes are proteins. Our fingernails are a different protein. The hemoglobin in our blood is a different protein. There's actually 200,000 different proteins in our body.
Marvelous.
Okay, now what he formed were like the little beads that link up to form the chains that we call proteins.
Yes.
So it's shown that amino acids, the beads, can form by chance processes. Therefore, it's implied we know how life formed.
Implied.
It's
Yes.
implied. But they don't tell the whole story.
Now, let's get the story.
You see, what is left out was that this man was a chemist, Stanley Miller, and he left out oxygen, because if he had oxygen, he knew amino acids wouldn't form. But as far down as we go in the rock layers of the earth, we always find oxidized rock, meaning there's always been
Yes.
oxygen.
Always been oxygen.
But he just left it out, okay? Just left it out. He only got a few of the amino acids. Every form of life is made up of 20 different colored beads, 20 different amino acids. He only got about 6 of those. And every time we run the experiment, you only get a few of them. Where did the rest come from? Nobody knows.
And these can be generated out in space and everywhere.
But it has nothing to do with life.
But has nothing. That's the point we need to make. These can be naturally generated. They were in his spark chamber.
True.
They can be generated from the stuff of space, but they have nothing to do with the formation of life.
Because you've gotten only a few of them.
Only a few of them, number one.
What are called right-hand and left-hand stereotypes.
Second problem, you get both right-handed and left-handed, but in real life, what do we get?
Well, we found out, I think God did this on purpose.
Yes.
It's like a drawer full of gloves. You have right-hand and left-hand gloves. If you randomly reach in, you're going to get some right-handed, some left-handed.
Sure.
If there's a way to link those gloves together to form a chain of gloves, you'd get a mixture of right-handed and left-handed. Life uses only left-handed gloves.
Only left-handed gloves. Put the right hand in the pocket.
Every time we do the experiment, we get a 50-50 mixture of both.
This audience needs to know that.
If you want to win the Nobel Prize, show how you could get a biological protein molecule with only left-handed gloves
from natural
from this sort of experiment.
Sure.
It's never been done in 50 years. You know what this experiment actually showed was that life could not possibly have formed in this way.
You are right that life could not have possibly formed in this way, and from outer space, life cannot naturally form. And we have a limited amount of proteins. We have them only in left-handed configuration. Then there's another major problem.
Major problem is the arrangement of those molecules.
Oh,
you see, they're
3
not
strikes
random.
and you're out.
Well, let me, before I build the case a little further, let me just reemphasize. Ernst Haeckel left a lie in his textbook for 50 years, even though he knew it was a lie. And we say we're more advanced, we're more honest, we're more scientific today. We have an even bigger lie in textbooks for now 50 years. It does not explain life, and yet it continues to be propagated.
Yes.
It's tragic, tragic.
Very tragic.
Now let's continue to build the knowledge base of your audience.
All right.
So we need the amino acids. We get only a few of the amino acids. We get a useless mixture of amino acids.
Right.
But when God designs life, he takes these beads, like specific little amino acids. These are like different colored beads. They naturally will link up to form a chain, but the exact order of the beads determines how the chain bends and folds and links. Okay.
The order.
The order is critical. It can't be random. It's designed in a specific way.
So we've got a major problem, only a few of the amino acids, but we need all 20 of them.
Yep.
And We get left-handed, right-handed
Right.
in these experiments, but we only left-handed acids, amino acids, are used in living systems.
That's the
and
data.
then the right and specific. What if you get just one of these out of place?
Well, there is an example of a very large amino acid called hemoglobin. Carries oxygen in our blood.
Oh, it's pretty
You
important.
see, our cells are like little molecular machines, incredibly complex. They have folders with files and information. They have energy processing centers. They have waste disposal centers. They've got transport mechanisms. Each of those are like a little molecular machine that moves stuff around. Hemoglobin is one molecule in a blood cell that grabs hold of oxygen and moves it all through the body. It is a protein. Hemoglobin is one of these chains that's bent and folded and twisted in order to grab oxygen and then transfer it around. It's a little molecular machine.
Yes.
Okay? Now, if you take that molecule, which is a very long chain of beads, and you just change two of the colors. Just
Okay.
take, say, a lysine amino acid and change it with a glycine amino acid, or say a red bead with a blue bead.
Yes.
One change.
One change.
Now, it doesn't twist and bend and fold in exactly the same way. The whole red blood cell becomes what's called sickle celled. It forms like a sickle shape instead of a spherical shape.
Oh.
It doesn't carry oxygen as well. And just in the United States, 500 people per year die of this disease
Of sickle cell anemia.
because of one mistake
One change.
on one molecule in the human body.
Oh my.
That's how specific these
Yes.
molecules have to be.
Yes.
Now, just to make it very clearly understood by your audience, I brought a model of what one of these protein molecules look like.
All right. This is the little jewel box of pearls.
Now, this would be a representation of a protein molecule. And as you look at, you see different colored beads.
Right.
The
I'm
individual beads are like the individual amino acids. There's 20 different colors.
And all left-handed.
All left-handed. Every form of life on this entire planet, whether it's a plankton or a single-celled amoeba or an elephant or a penguin or us, have exactly 20 different colored beads in all of these different molecules that make up our bodies.
All right.
Okay? Not 21, not 19, just 20.
20?
And
Exact-
each of the
okay.
molecules have to be in the right order. So you've got the beads lined up to form a protein molecule. Now let's show what one of these
All right.
molecules look like. Just pull it on out of there.
Well, let's see. I'm assuming a simple life form would have. Uh-oh. It's much longer than
Keep going, doctor.
I ever expected. Incredible.
You're not far enough away
not
yet.
far-
We need some
Wow.
room for this molecule.
More. How many do you have in this strand?
This particular simulation of a protein has about 2,000 amino acids. Now, that's a fairly long protein, but there are many proteins in our body that are that long.
That are that long.
So-
and every one has to be
Every-
in its place,
Every single bead has to be exactly the right spot.
and they configure and they
then it
wrap
will
specifically.
bend and fold and perform a certain function, like you've made a cog on a machine or a fan on a fan blade.
Yes.
Whatever is needed, God used molecules to be designed in exactly the right way to form a certain shape to do a certain function.
So if I take that bead and transfer it to that bead,
one
I
change.
have wrecked the whole.
No longer works. It doesn't work. It's a useless molecule that's a detriment to your body.
And the whole thing begins to unravel. The whole body begins to compromise.
But remember, this is the representation of one molecule.
one molecule.
Not, I don't know, I said it fast at the beginning. The human body, proteins are the most common
Yes.
type of chemical.
Yes.
There are 200,000 different chains.
Chains in the body, and in each
Every
cell.
single one of them, to the best of our ability as medical scientists to figure out, have a specific purpose and function.
Now let's make sure the audience gets this. 200,000 specific proteins throughout the body. Each cell has about 60,000 of those for its specific function.
Yeah, that's just one cell.
That's just one cell.
Right.
So when you put it all together, everything, like Brianna with her lens, if the creator had not had that ant pick up her lens,
Right.
she wouldn't have gotten it back. And if the creator had not put everything together so beautifully, we couldn't function.
That's right.
And this is true from plankton, as you stated, single cell, to the amoeba, and the complication to the plants, all the way up the line to the tadpoles and to the elephants and to Suzy Q.
And there is nothing simple about a simple single-celled organism.
Yes.
Nothing. Now let me just help your audience once again understand, you know, God wants that no one be deceived.
That's right.
He wants us to know the truth. And we can use science to help us find what the truth is.
Yes.
Now you can use statistics, and statistics is mathematics. It is science.
Yes.
To discover, is something possible or is it essentially impossible?
Yes.
So basically, and I'm going to walk back over here again, if we have 200,000 different proteins in the human body,
in a single human body, every human
the
body.
kind of simplest form of life, and I've kind of illustrated it here, these are all single-celled organisms. This is a diatom. It's a single cell, and it's a beautifully engineered structure.
Oh, yes. Microscopic.
You know, the human body, once it is, you know, fertilized, is a single cell. We all came from a single cell.
Yes.
All of the information, 3 billion letters, are there at that moment, and it turns into our heart and our liver and our eyes and our fingers and everything. All of those 200,000 different proteins are all coded in from that single cell.
So naturalistic
Nothing
explanation
simple
is
about it.
ridiculous.
The simplest form of life, and we're always learning more, but it seems to have about 1,000 different protein chains in the very simplest form of life we've discovered. Now, we can calculate the probability. How likely is it for one of those chains to come about? Because we know, on average, how many beads there are, how they could line up, you know, just got random chemicals reacting, they're going to line up randomly. Could we come up by random processes of evolution, one of the chemicals?
Just one
Just
of the
one.
chemicals. Just one.
And it turns out this is the odds. That would happen once in 10 with 39 zeros after it attempts.
Oh my.
Now the problem is there's a lot of people out there that don't like math, and they just they're getting ready to reach for the TV knob and turn it off. 10 to the 39th, what is that? So you need to make these sort of things understandable.
Yes.
Now, what evolutionists will do, they'll say, well, that just means lots of time was involved. With enough time, anything could happen. Have you ever heard a statement like this? If you had enough time, a monkey could type out the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Oh, we've heard that.
We've heard those sort of things,
It's never
right?
been demonstrated.
Well, they've tried, and that's a story. That's a kind of a humorous story in and of itself.
Oh, they have tried.
We'll come back to that.
Okay.
We'll come back to that. So let's just, instead of just accepting those sort of statements as Christians, let's challenge those sort of statements, okay? And ask, well, how many monkeys would it take, and how much time would it take just to create one of these molecules by random chance?
Just one. And that's not going to give you a living system.
Well,
let's start with one.
You have to have a visual picture. Say you put your monkey in front of your computer keyboard, and the average computer keyboard has about 50 keys with all the letters and all the symbols. Turns out that by randomly trying to make just the title Encyclopedia Britannica
Just
correct.
the title now.
Not the whole encyclopedia.
Not the whole encyclopedia.
You've got to get
just the
E,
title.
You've got to get the E in the right space, followed by the N in the right space, followed by the C in the right space. And if you don't, just randomly pecking, it's the wrong molecule. So you have to throw it out and start over. Understand? So the odds of getting just the E is 1 over 50. The odds of getting the E followed by the N is 1 over 50 times 1 over 50, so on. That turns out to be that would happen once every 10 with 39 zero tries. So it's the same as this molecule. Okay, so far.
All right.
So now we've got our monkeys trying. Suppose they try every second. There's only about 1 million seconds in a year.
Okay.
That's 10 with 6 zeros. We need 39 zeros. If they've been doing it for 15 billion years, that's only 10 with about 12 zeros.
Oh, my.
We need 39 zeros.
Yes.
You would have to have a monkey in front of a typewriter covering all of Texas, all of the United States, all of the oceans, Atlantic, Pacific, the entire globe covered with monkeys, stacked 10 miles deep, every monkey trying to get Encyclopedia Britannica once per second.
Just the title.
Just the title for 15 billion years, and one of them might get it right.
Might. One.
And that's
just
one molecule. You see, it's an impossibility. It couldn't happen.
It is an absolute impossibility. It could not happen. This has been a visual display to show you that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. You are miraculously wrought together, curiously wrought, as David said in Psalm 139. And Professor Malone has demonstrated to us so brilliantly with this string of pearls. This is just one single protein illustrated, and you have 200,000 specific and separate proteins in your body. Just having one protein wouldn't do much good at all. The entire system would begin to biodegrade very quickly. But now, since God has strung together this beautiful array of pearls into your body and brain, God has done something else for you. There's a pearl of great price that we should sell everything we have to glean and to own. And that particular pearl is Jesus Christ. You see, Jesus came to earth to show us the way, and turns out to be the only one who ever lived perfectly, the only one capable of satisfying the just demands of a holy God for our sins. Would you pray a simple prayer with me? Just pray this simple prayer. Lord Jesus, thank you for dying, being buried, rising from the grave, and at this moment, knocking at my heart. Lord Jesus, come in. Right now, I ask you to step into my heart and live, and I'll serve you with all my heart. If you prayed that simple prayer, the one who strung the beads together has now completed your soul, your life, and your eternity. Welcome home.
Creation in the 21st Century has been sponsored by Trinity Broadcasting Network. And only with your love gift of support can this program stay on the air. So write to Creation in the 21st Century, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.